And what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It is your boy, Cheap Ludes, and I am back with some new news in relation to NBA 2K21 My Team. So, about twice a week, 2K will kind of tease the night before like a larger content release and kind of tease a few things, and they're doing it again. They did do it last weekend in regards to the idol set, which, by the way, I'll talk about idols later. I don't know if we're getting an idol set tomorrow, but it doesn't matter. So if you don't follow him on Twitter, you can always come here. Like, I'll always do a not necessarily a prediction or a reaction video, but just an informative video, just telling you what we're expecting tomorrow in My Team, or the next day in My Team, essentially. So tag the best My Team player you know is what they tweeted, which, I mean, it sounds like an innocuous statement that like a brand Twitter would just kind of put out there just to hype up their own game. But if you look back through their tweets in general, they don't ever tweet anything or even say anything unless it has to do with content in 2K. Like, that's the only time. And I mean, as a brand, it makes sense. Like, that's what their Twitter is supposed to do anyway, just to hype up stuff that'll generate revenue. So they don't just tweet this stuff for no reason. This isn't 2015, you know? Which, like, I really hope I get to the point in my YouTube career where I can just go and tweet some like super dumb statement and then just get like 10,000 retweets. That'd be sick. Like, who's rolling one up this weekend? And then everyone just loses their mind with interaction. Circa 2015 Wiz Khalifa style, where he'd just tweet like one dumb sentence and there'd be just like 10 million retweets. I hope I can get there at some point. I'll just be like, who likes books? And everyone's like, yes, that's what I want. But I mean, looking at the responses here, I don't think a lot of people really thought this was teasing anything. I think a lot of people just thought it was like a random statement from 2K, which, like, that's what I thought at first. And then I was like, nah, like, they're definitely doing something. It's Wednesday at 5 p.m. I know what they do here. Ronnie, how do I tag myself? Shut up, dude. This guy, man. Week 1. Okay. Yeah. All right. So it's basically just tagging themselves and other content creators. Nobody added myself, which is like, it's pretty ridiculous. I may not be the best My Team player, but I know I can outsmoke a lot of the My Team creators. I know that for a fact. That's all I can really do better than them, but, you know, it's fine. So then I think it was 30 minutes later, they posted, prove that you're the best starting tomorrow, with a little time. Now, this is when, so the reason I always wait like an hour or two before making these videos and let all of the actual tweets happen before I make them is because this is where content creators started losing it, right? This right here is when a lot of content creators started putting out videos about how we were having a new My Team tournament, like a new 250K tomorrow, right? I saw at least 4 videos referencing it, and I saw a bunch of content creators mad when they found out that that's not what this meant. Now, I will say I was not disappointed when I found out it's not what it meant. Just because I'm not a comp level player, like, I don't think I would have qualified for said tournament, especially at this point in the year. Like, I just don't play online enough for that. So personally, I was hoping it was something offline, or just, I don't know, dude, something that wasn't a tournament based thing, realistically. So I saw a bunch of videos about that. But instead, we got this new Spotlight Sims tomorrow, which is the whole point of this video. 30 intense challenges. So 30 teams, 30 intense challenges. I'm guessing it's going to be a standard 5v5 Spotlight Sims, right? Like, maybe it's not going to be 5 games each for each team, being 150 total games. I don't necessarily think it's going to be that. If that is, that's the last offline grind we're getting for the rest of 2K21. There's no question about it, but it could be similar to what we're seeing, or what we saw last year, being like, if you remember, was it Final Spotlight Sims, where it was like 5 games, 5 games, 5 games, 5 games, 5 games, but there are 30 new Dark Matter rewards. And honestly, that doesn't really mean anything to me. And the reason I say that is because if you look at the Opal rewards we've been getting for a season rewind, like, I'm not stoked for the 30 new Dark Matter rewards. Obviously, one from every NBA team, which leads me to believe it's going to be team-based. So I will go talk about that in a second. I'll go look at the market, and we'll talk about the implications this could have and a bunch of other stuff in relation, what you should do to prepare. 1 invincible reward for completing every challenge. It's an invincible taco fall, bro. Like, no way. All right, so It's an invincible Taco Fall. That's what it is. Like, it's an invincible Taco. Dude is 7'5". He's going to be the new Goat Yao. I don't think there's any question about that. And I think it does. Oddly enough, it's going to hurt the value of guys like Kareem and Shaq. I think just a little bit. Not crazy, but Kareem's good and everything. But a 7'5", 99 speed Taco Fall is going to be better. I hate to break it to you. I still like Kareem better, so I'll probably still use him. But maybe on the bench because I'm going to be using Taco when I get him. So what does this mean exactly? Like, I don't know. Let's go look at the market, and then I'll talk about what players you should potentially buy, or like what players you should look at, or just things you should kind of like take into account before tomorrow's content drops. So let's head over there now. All right, so we're over on 2K21 now. Let's check out the market and just kind of see exactly what we can expect from Spotlight Sims. Look, I'm stoked for this. I got my America fit on. Like, I'm ready for the 4th of July weekend where I just like get ripped and play 2K all day. Or I'm gonna play some Mass Effect too, I'll be honest, but it doesn't really matter. So, are you going to need players from each individual team for Spotlight Sims? That's kind of the biggest question that you should be asking right now, because that is going to be ridiculous if you do. Like, whew, it's going to be tough. I'm interested to see what it does to the value of certain players. Like LaMelo, I think goes up because he's a Hornets player and they don't have a lot of players in general. Someone like Wilt, we're already seeing going up because the Warriors do not have a rich history of centers in regards to what is available in NBA 2K21 My Team. Someone like DeMar DeRozan, his price is going to go down a bit because there's options like Terrence Ross, even like Diamond Norman Powell, like stuff like that. There's options at the wing that you can use instead of DeMar DeRozan. Do you see what I'm saying? So we're going to see certain cards go up in price and certain cards go down. And the real question is, do you sell your cards tonight and make, slightly less profit, but then it's guaranteed profit because we don't know for sure if we're going to need players from certain teams, right? Or do you wait for tomorrow, potentially hoping that we do need players from certain teams, and then you can make an absurdly large amount of MT? Well, either way, I'm going to go through all the teams and talk about budget options you can pick up. One of those budget options is Joel Embiid for the 76ers. We'll start there. My all-time team, I definitely needed another center besides Moses Malone, so I picked Joel Embiid up for about $13K. I think it'll be nice. Another good budget option would be like Matisse Thybulle. You can pick him up for about $3K. Ben Simmons under $10K. Those are three pretty solid guys to start your squad out with, and then obviously you're just going to have to use whatever cards you have available. Thaddeus Young is another good option. You pick him up for like $1,500. For the Bucks, I would say a good budget option is this Giannis. He's not the greatest card in the world, but he can definitely hold it down in, a Spotlight Sim setting for sure. Now, I'm not saying for sure go buy these cards tonight. This is just a heads up of guys you should look at if it comes down to the point where we need to get certain players from certain teams for Spotlight Sims tomorrow. Thanasis is a really good option as well, and so is Marquise Johnson. He's really similar to Thanasis. You can build an okay starting lineup with just Giannis, Thanasis, and honestly, I can't believe I'm saying Marquise Johnson, but it is what it is. I'm holding on to a bunch of my lower tier cards as well because you don't really know what price they're actually going to be at if it needs, like if there is a required amount of cards for each team. So I'm holding on to some of these guys like Ersan, Thon, Larry Sanders, guys I won't ever use for anything but could sell for a lot. The Bulls, there is so many options for the Bulls. I will say that right now, especially at the guard and wing position. Now, Cleveland, there's a lot of guard options as well. A lot of people who've been playing all year have a bunch of great options. If you're looking for a cheap shooting guard or point guard, Kevin Porter is someone I recommend picking up for a variety of reasons. He's just generally good anyway. In addition to Channing Frye for a big man, Tristan Thompson's not terrible as well. Isaac Okoro, those are all guys you're going to look at, especially to fill out your team. Now, in addition to that, like if we're looking at the Celtics, just have so many cards, man. Like there's been so many Celtics cards this year, but a lot of them have been rewards. Amethyst Larry Bird would be a good person to pick up, and Rondo would be guys I would recommend. For the Clippers, Eric Gordon, Boban, DeAndre Jordan. If you're in need of big men, those two are great. JJ Redick's $3K. Malik Sealy, super cheap. These are guys you can definitely fill out a roster. I mean, that's a straight whole 5-man right there. As far as the Grizzlies, cheap cards that I would check out, John Morant's still kind of expensive, but there's really no point guard options for the Grizzlies. So if it comes down to it, dude, don't be surprised if you have to pay 20, 25K for this John Morant. I think it'll be worth it, too. It's not like he's bad or anything. Because there's no point guard options. You could also get away with going after Juan Carlos Navarro. He's pretty cheap and usable as well if you want to go with the cheaper route. Hakeem Warwick's a really good budget card to look at in that regard. Felipe Lopez, honestly, you can get him for really cheap, and he'll hold it down if you need an absolute, like, super budget guy. Now, as far as the Hawks goes, Dominique is super cheap. You can get him for, like, nothing. He's not the greatest. For the same price as Dominique, though, you can get, like, DeAndre Hunter and Josh Smith. Like, Dominique's going for about $13K. For a cheap big man, Onyeka Okongwu, you can get him for, like, 3,500 MT. Stacey Augmon is a relatively cheap exchange, so not a terrible idea. Kyle Korver is stupid cheap, and he is incredible. I've been talking about him all year. Like, you guys know how I feel about Kyle Korver. Now, DeAndre Hunter might be the best of these budget guys, like straight up, because you can actually use him in other game modes as well very efficiently. Like, he's basically budget Kawhi. He's great. And then we'll look at the Heat. Hassan Whiteside and Tyler Hero are both around 7K each and super elite options. And the Heat are actually a relatively hard team to fill out. We haven't gotten a lot of Heat cards. Justice Winslow is also cheap. Same with like Derek Jones Jr. and Precious. You can have a decent starting five with those guys. So, not a bad starting five to use. You only need 7 from what I can understand, right? The Hornets are tough. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist for sure. Gerald Wallace is kind of cheap. LaMelo Ball is all right. I mean, they really don't have any big men, so you're going to have to get creative in that regard. LaMelo Ball and Miles Bridges, as far as like power forwards, are kind of what you got to work with at this point, if I'm being honest. And like realistically, you could just run your 5-man with a couple Hornets players and then just keep the bench. You don't even really have to play them. And like I said, I will say it again just in case people are not paying attention or didn't hear me say it before. It is not a guarantee that we are going to have to use specific cards from specific teams, but if we do, you can cite this video for options. Now, as far as the Jazz, Andre Karolinko and Mark Eaton are really cheap, so those are guys you might want to look at. Joe Ingles, super cheap. He's not great, but he'll get it done. For the Kings, Tyrese Halliburton and Marvin Bagley, the two of these guys will cost you $10,000 total. Chris Webber, I think, is a little bit too expensive, personally. I mean, he's like 10 Gs, which isn't bad, but like you can get Halliburton and Bagley for that price. And then you could grab like Lionel Simmons, Sim Bhullar, even this Vlade Divac. You can make a starting 5 that can compete for, I don't know, about 15K. It's not terrible. The Knicks, there's a lot of good Knicks players. Oakley and Ewing for big men. RJ Barrett's relatively cheap. Obi Toppin and Michael Ray Richardson will help out with guard play. Those guys can definitely hold it down too. Yeah, I mean, Oakley's probably the best big man, realistically, for his price, or Eddie Curry. Both of those guys do kind of hold it down quite a bit. Now let's look at the Lakers. The Lakers have like so many players. I don't even really want to go into details. If you want cheap guys, Trevor Ariza, Alex Caruso, really good options. As far as other cheap guys, Diamond Shaq will hold it down just fine. For the Magic, Markelle Fultz is really good. Jonathan Isaac is a little pricey, but he's not terrible. Cole Anthony is really cheap as well. Same with Grant Hill and Mo Bamba and T-Mac. Once again, another pretty solid group of cards. Chuma Okeke is like 2,000. I promise you he's a monster. Look, I don't hype this card for no reason, dog. All right. Mavericks. Eddie Jones and Chandler Parsons would be 2 guys I would highly recommend grabbing just because they're not too expensive. And I mean, Dirk, I guess, if you can get him for cheap enough. Diamond Luka's relatively cheap. Like I said, you're going to have to get creative with the power forward Luka there. You're going to get out rebounded for sure, but cheap's cheap, dude. You can make this work, right? I really, really hope we have to use players from individual teams. Like, that's where I'm set up at, because I've been hoarding players all year. The Nets, a lot of them are reward players, but I mean, Darren Williams and Yee, probably. Rondé Hollis Jefferson's relatively cheap and very usable as well. As far as centers, like Brook Lopez, that's about all you got besides Diamond Yee. The Nuggets. I mean, RJ Hampton's great. RJ Hampton and Gallo, you can get these guys for a total of like 12K. Hold it down. Pacers, Karis LeVert is a necessity. Ooh, I did like a sassy grandma thing right there. Like, Cassius Stanley. I mean, yeah, him or Darren Collison if you need guard play. That's about the cheapest. There's really not that many Pacers guys. Yeah. The Pelicans are tough, dude. They're going to be one of those teams where it's like remarkably tough to fill out. I bought Kira Lewis Jr. for $25K just in case. You just never know, right? Like you never know. Hopefully you got the free Zion. That's going to help out. Anthony Davis is probably one of your best options. He's relatively cheap. Hopefully you grinded for Josh Hart because there's just like no options at this point. Pistons, I'm not going to go through every individual team, but you get the kind of general idea. Like if you want, tomorrow I'm going to upload a video on the Spotlight Sims, and if they are player lock eligible or they require certain players from certain teams, I will individually go through and provide a list of great budget options that you can pick up for relatively cheap. So I'm excited for tomorrow. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Like, what do you think we're going to see? What is it going to be? I got a bunch of people on Twitter saying multiplayer Spotlight Sims. There's no way. Personally, I think Taco Fall is going to be, because they keep saying it's like all about skill and who can get them or whatever. So it's either going to be like, A, ridiculously hard to the point where I don't even want to complete it, or B, it is going to be a numerical reward, meaning there's a limited number. Limited would have been better. I don't know why I said numerical. Trying to be smart, trying to be big brain, but it didn't work. Anyways, yeah, I just think it's going to be probably either like timed or limited. So, I mean, that, or just really ridiculously hard. It's going to be tough to see, but I will be there to help you guys out. Hopefully I can help you guys more than I help myself most of the time. As always, it has been your boy Cheap Ludes. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I appreciate all you guys for watching my videos, and I will be back bright and early tomorrow. Hopefully we get some idols to open. Peace.